Most of Jesus' parables are polyvalent, meaning there's multiple meanings or aspects that we can see embedded in them. It provides a richness, and it also stretches us. Hopefully prevents us from getting stuck in one particular viewpoint or another, but sees a breadth of things. In this particular passage, Jesus is using some wording that is a bit challenging, dangerous sounding. He's come to set the world on fire. And that kind of language gets some people really excited. Their juices flowing. We're ready to burn this place to the ground because we don't like it as it is. Let's get moving, Jesus. They were anticipating that the Messiah was going to do just that. But then Jesus introduces the concept of division. And it's not a division about us versus them. Now it's us versus us. Maybe me versus me. Bringing the gospel message to challenge the very core principles of who we even identify ourselves as. It's too easy for us to make the argument between myself, because I know I'm right, and the other people who obviously are wrong because they don't agree with me. But if we listen to the gospel message, it really challenges us to say, are we really sure of ourselves? And we bring perhaps the battle line or the contention and the tension much closer to home and much more to our disliking. We don't like it that close. And Jesus seems to be almost enthusiastic about it. He's anguish. Now, of course, at some level, he's speaking about his coming death, and he's hoping to get that over with, or at least we could interpret it as he's waiting to get that over with. Or maybe it's the conversion of the world. Hey, who wouldn't want that to hurry up along the process? But this image of fire is a metaphor that has a lot of potential to it. Fire is dangerous, but it's also remarkable in what it can accomplish. At some level, it is a release of energy that's been stored up. Very powerful. Caveman, we presume, when was first able to control fire, changed the destinies of his life and ours. So fire has that great potential. It brings about a conversion of things. We like the image of it because people like to play with fire. The pyromaniacs. The ability to control something that can spread and convert something else. We like that image of the conversion process spreading out. Maybe we think that that's what Jesus is talking about, that he's the light of the world, he ignites the discipleship, and is supposed to convert everything. Great imagery. But we also know that fire can be used for destruction. And the conversion process is destroying one thing, maybe even as it's creating something else. Another image Jesus uses, or is used in the Old Testament even, is a refiner's fire. The intensity of the passion and the angst that we go through often refines as it burns away the superficial and allows us to see perhaps things with greater clarity of what should be the most important, the things that endure. As our diocese is continuing to face restructuring, and people are in angst because, what's going to happen? We're going to destroy or lose things, and are we going to have a future? And I like the imagery of pyrophilic trees. Pyrophilic trees have this ingrained capacity to use fire for their propagation process. They use the fire to be able to burn away parasites and a disease within themselves, to level the playing field and get rid of competing weeds. And it is so adapted for that the seed pods require an intense heat in order for it to be able to release the seeds into a new environment that's been chemically changed by the process of fire. Sounds great until we might realize that there's going to be burning going on, and it might be burning part of us. So as Jesus challenges us with this notion of pruning, that hurts. But this notion of fire is even harder for us. We don't like the concept. But what Jesus is trying to encourage us to do is to be on board with the conversion process, to appreciate the long-term gain. the long-term goal, which is to burn away or let go of all that is superficial to hang on to the thing that is truly the most important. And unfortunately, we don't always have the clarity of sight to know exactly what that is until we've gone through the process of purification. So we all encounter suffering in our lives, and we all can attribute to that sense of burning away of things, the division it causes in our country and our lives and our families. And what Jesus asks of us most is to be patient and perseverant, perhaps a bit non-reactionary, because when we fan the flames, we just kind of make a mess of it and don't necessarily speed up the process. We don't know what needs to be converted quite yet. And ultimately, it requires a submission of our hearts, a submission of our will to the way that God has things. God is in charge, we are not. And in light of today's gospel, Jesus would probably say, burn, baby, burn.